nothing done if nothing tried. So if you won't do it, then let's just stop talking about it. You know. Now everybody in the 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome to another episode of Diaspora. I'm really excited today because I'm talking to one of my, probably one of my longest friends in the United States, Mr. Omar Anderson, bro. Appreciate it, sir. Thanks for coming through, man. All right, so Omar is originally from Jamaica, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about Jamaica. We're gonna talk a little bit about United States, a little bit about your coaching, just to give you a little background of what we're gonna talk about. But first, let's start from home. So you're from Kingston, right?
Yeah.
So how long ago did you move to the States?
I moved to the States in 2006, I believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
April of 2006, when I was like 16 going on 17.
Nice. So almost the same amount of time then.
16 years counting.
Yeah. So almost you're half and half at this point, 50-50.
Yeah.
50% Jamaica, you lived in Jamaica, and 50% you lived in the States.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. So how do you think that kind of affects you now?
I mean, that's a good question. I think that majority of my, just like upbringing is rooted in Jamaican, but then majority of my adult life is American.
Right.
So I've been to like finish school here, college, enter the working world. That's where like the whole shape around what it means to be like an adult, or just like a young adult and figuring things out, but in Jamaica, I didn't work at all, so didn't have a chance to work. So guess it's two different shifts, two different story, right? It's a story of, you're growing, you're a teenager, you're learning how things work, and then you come to America, it's like a different shift in the story where it's like a coming of age now, right? You're
Right.
16, 17, but then you're put in a different country where you got to figure things out and how to navigate it. So, yeah, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's definitely two different chapters though.
Right. Two different beautiful chapters. So like the first part of your life in Jamaica, so was that more free and more, I would say, like kind of feel more like normal
Yeah.
compared to America?
What do you mean by free and normal?
I mean, a 15-year-old in America is already aware of so many things, right? They're already aware of like what's good in sports. There's already like, expectations. But I feel like back home, at least in Nigeria, which I think is same for Jamaica,
Yeah.
you can just be kids. Like
Yeah.
your aunts and the grown-ups deal with grown-up stuff. But you
Yeah.
just play around in the, because I remember you told me a story of like you and your brother, your twin brother,
Yeah.
you guys would just play soccer in the backyard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a way, we don't see that as freedom, but
Yeah.
we think now from being America, it's more that's part of our life is more fun. I think.
Yeah. 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 I guess you could say so that you wouldn't have to think about all the social distractions of the world. I mean, at the time I was growing up, it was what? I mean, I think saying it's going to make me seem old, but MySpace was a thing,
Right.
You remember we were messaging through like AOL and stuff like that?
Right.
It's crazy to think that was so far long ago. And
Yeah.
we had pen pals, I never had a pen pal, but I
never-
loved the pen pal.
Yeah. I remember having my first email and it was like yahoo.co.uk.
Yeah.
I was balling. I told
Yeah.
everybody about it.
You had to go through so many people just email.
Because you have to know a UK zip code, but at the time I didn't know how to use Google, so I have to know someone that know the zip code. I mean, just think about the life before Google, right? So it was all this new world, and little things mean so much.
Yeah, the dial up and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I mean, when you going back to your question about like normal and free, I guess everybody's normal and free is different, right? I mean, when you look at you growing up in like Jamaica, I don't know what it's like in Nigeria, but when you look at Jamaica, our normal and free is that in a sense like we didn't have that many high tech things in a sense. We didn't
Right.
I didn't have like a computer in my household per se.
Right.
And I had to go to my aunt's house, to if I want to to get on a computer or
Right.
get on the internet or stuff like that, right? Or go to the library. And at that time, we are using floppy disk. We had
Right.
those floppy things you learn in school and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess our normal was that we didn't have to worry about social norms, how we appeared in a social bubble or how we appear outside. It was very simple, treat your elders with respect, dress properly, um, and then most of just like natural daily life just came from just outside playing and climbing trees,
Right.
but then like shift that 16 years later, right? I'm in America and it's just like to get somewhere it's a little bit harder,
Right.
and but then you could also attribute that to the fact that you go from 2 million people to 310
People.
million people. Florida's population is probably like 14 times the size of Jamaica's
Right.
population. That's how much Jamaica's population could fit into Florida alone.
And
Right?
Florida was the first state you
Yeah.
stayed when you moved to the state,
Yeah.
right?
So stayed in Florida. And even that was a difference. I remember when I was told I had to work, it was like I worked my first place of like employment was in Alaska. But I never I don't think I had factored the idea of what work was. It was just like my grandma was telling me to do this. I have to go do this,
Right.
but I never grasped that concept of work in Jamaica because we weren't told we had to do that. It was just like you're a teenager, go to school, get good grades, don't get kicked out, don't get suspended,
Right.
don't fight, basically survive every day. That's all it was. Just make it home. If you make it home, honestly, they
Right.
didn't really care about your grades. If you just
No.
made it home every day,
Yeah.
hey, you get an A plus. You get an A plus.
And I think that's what I meant by free. It's the
Yeah.
fact that, like you said, it's like people are working, but we see work more for like adults, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in America, someone is telling you need to work at McDonald's, you need to
Yeah.
have work experience. We
Yeah.
don't have that. Like
Yeah.
your aunts and your uncle, everybody just take care of
Yeah.
you, and you're allowed to be kid. You're a kid. You just allow you're kind of sheltered a little bit,
hmm
which I think kind of helps us to kind of just enjoy being kids, like
Yeah.
just being a normal kid. Because I see that a lot. Like I would go to the gym and like these 17-year-old like kids would come up to me in the gym, and I mean the things they talk about that they want to do. It's
Yeah.
really beautiful. I like that they're so aware, but I'm just like
Yeah.
you're 17,
Probably information overload,
over
right?
too
Yeah.
much.
Not even. Not. They're not. I get what you're saying. They're not being allowed to be teenagers and feel the growth of what it means to be a teenager and see how things develop around you, right? I mean,
Right,
you're right because there's a lot of times in my advising role as a advisor for teaching kids how to like map their degrees out and stuff like that.
mm,
It's surprising how many teenagers who I'm talking to are thinking just like, I want to be this place in 5 years. I want
right,
to be that place in 5 years. And I'm just like, when I was your age, I was climbing a tree,
right,
like eating a mango. I was jumping
right,
fence, running from feral dogs. It's like it's like it's different. It's different for sure. And I
right,
think, and then that also comes with the territory too, right? You go
right,
from a country that's not like so technologically savvy or
right,
technologically fully developed, like in the sense Jamaica is still a third world country,
right,
right? Not everybody in every household, like majority of American households, you could say have a connection to the internet. I can't
right,
tell you what that is, whether via they have Wi-Fi hotspot or Wi-Fi hotspot, I mean, or they have tablets or even just their mobile phones, but
right.
almost every household um in Jamaica wouldn't have that luxury in a
Right.
sense,
And I think the way that kind of affect the teenager of Americans, which I'm concerned even from my kids, growing up here, is
Yeah,
that they're really scared to make mistakes. And the reason when someone is being forced to grow too fast,
yeah,
they know too much. And
yeah,
part of the reason why I'm here is because I did not know what it's
yeah,
gonna take. If I
yeah,
know everything that was gonna take, I'll probably stay at home. I would be overwhelmed.
yeah.
I wasn't that courage. People think like it's so courageous to be here. It's like I just didn't know. I
It's the only choice.
I just didn't
Yeah,
know. I thought I'm gonna go to America and it's gonna be easy. Well, I mean, I figured it out when I came. That wasn't easy,
hmm
but at least I was already in it. what happens is these teenagers are seeing people that are already successful, that are people that are living all these lives, and they are thinking like, man, if I can make it out in 5 years, I'm a loser,
Mhm,
which is like you need so much time to really develop who you are,
mhm.
but anyways, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to, point out. So let's go back to Jamaica though. So official language is patois. Is it
Yeah,
patois or is it English?
Jamaican patois, they say.
Jamaican patois, is it different
Yeah.
between other patois?
That's the only patois I know.
Interesting.
It's a mixture of just like, when the natives to Jamaica, like, culture clash between just like the Spaniards, the British, and then the Africans that came over from West Africa and stuff like that, as they were just like moving through the Caribbean and just, dropping people off in certain areas. And that's how the language came about. So some people say they can hear like Spanish in it at times.
Hmm.
Some people say they can hear a little bit of like English in it. Some people say they also hear a little bit of Creole, which is more connected towards like Haiti and stuff.
Right.
But that just shows like how much of just like people are just like positioned there as time went on. But it's Jamaican patois is the main
Nice.
language. Yeah.
So like you guys,
Read and write in English.
so you guys get the news in English or in patois?
Depend. I mean, both.
Both.
they just
Nice.
they just deliver it.
So what is like if someone is visiting, Jamaica? So what is the hello? Is it wagwan? Is it hello?
Wagwan. Yeah.
Okay. And then if I want to say, something like how are you? Is that the same
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. Way depon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would I say?
You just said just everything, Chris. May I make a move? So everything, Chris, means I'm all right. May I make a move? Mean like just taking it in strides.
Everything
Yeah,
Chris?
yeah.
Like the name Chris kind of?
Like everything, Chris. Like everything's like fine.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm
Yeah,
saying the pronunciation though. It's like everything
yeah,
Chris.
yeah.
Okay. That's dope. That's dope. So if I mean you were kind of like you said, you were under around 16 when you left home. So what was your favorite like street food? Like if you're in the street back in Kingston, like what are you grabbing on the road?
Oh, Escovitch fish.
It's
Escovitch
fish.
fish and festival. I love fish.
Nice.
Love seafood. I mean, jerk chicken has its thing, and everything on every street food is a thing. But like mine was always fish. It's either escovitch, like fried fish, or steamed fish with festival.
Nice. What do you mean with festival? What does that mean?
So festival is like how they say it's kind of like fried pastry.
Interesting.
So but it's more it's round and it's like long. It's kind of, it looks like best way to describe it too. It looks like a cucumber, but dough. It's like flour dough,
Really?
right? It's brown, golden crisp, has a little sweet taste to it. Sometimes you can have it with festival. Some people could do it with like fried dumplings, or boiled dumplings, depends, steamed crackers. You could do it with like bami or breadfruit. Bami is like a little, not a paste. It's not a pastry. It's just like a certain way you turn the flour into a flat bread and
Mhm.
just and make it so
Is it more like a tortilla kind of?
kind of, but thicker,
Or more doughy?
more doughy. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting. All right. So you left, you and your brother, right? And your sister
yeah.
left Jamaica when you're 16. You moved here, you moved to Florida. What was like the initial reaction? I mean, was it like dream come true or was it
Yeah.
like what's going on here?
My initial reaction was, this place is not what they told me it was going to be. And the reason why I'm saying that, because um you remember the shows of just like Pimp My Rides and
Yeah, yep.
In Miami, and
And you were 16 at the time.
I
It would
was
make sense.
I was young, and I mean, when we had TV, I mean, when we got home from school, we'd look forward to watching that, and then you remember they had like, what was these people who used to sing in their high schools and stuff like that,
Is it High School Musical?
something like that. I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, high school seems a little bit like really positive over here. This is gonna be exciting. But when we landed, it wasn't. I mean, we had to do immigration. We had to sit in there for a little bit. We had to wait, but then it wasn't as clean as I thought it was going to be.
What do you mean, bro? What do you mean wasn't as
Like
clean?
it wasn't clean. I mean, my vision of it was just like, wow, they showed like Pimp My Rides, and that was my vision.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
It's like houses from above. You're like, oh, it looks good, and when you got there, you're just like, eh.
Right.
It was just, eh. That's what it was.
It's Florida too.
Yeah. And I believe that same night, that literally that same night, I rode my bicycle to Burger King and they locked the doors. So I rode my bicycle through the drive-through,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, what are you doing? You know, I'm just like, "Just trying to get some food. What do you
Right.
mean? You know, and then they're just like, there's a drive-through, and back in my mind, I'm just like,
I'm
I'm
driving.
just trying to get some food, you know, and then I end up getting pulled over on my bike that night, which is another revelation because I guess like you have to have like a certain flashing light behind on your bike on the front. You have to have a helmet
The first
and all
night in
that stuff on
America.
the first night. And I'm just like completely out of my realm. I literally remember telling the guy, I was like, I literally just got here. It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. We literally just got here.
And it's like it's crazy because back in Jamaica and Nigeria, cops just don't just let you be kids.
Yeah.
Again, they just let you do your own
Yeah.
thing. They don't
Riding
even
bike.
bother you.
Yeah. If you fall down, that's on you.
Yeah,
blame
they're
your
not,
blame your crappy parents for not teaching you how to ride a bike.
they're not
You're
coming to
silly,
get you,
you know?
but
Yeah.
they're gonna let you be kids.
Yeah.
And I think going back to what we are talking about earlier is like I remember just like hearing people are processed, as early as like let's say just driving without a license, stuff
Yeah.
like that, and you can get like something on your record,
Yeah.
or like I'm just saying like it's just crazy how to me I just feel like people should be allowed to be kids,
Yeah.
because like cops in Africa still are effective, but it would take you to your parents' home.
Oh.
They can snitch on you, but they're not gonna arrest you.
Yeah.
If you have a parent that will come get you, they will try and tell them to discipline you, but they're not gonna,
They're not gonna.
there's
Okay.
nothing that's gonna affect you in the future that will not allow you to
Yeah.
get a job. Like if someone have, went to like, some kind of like, was arrested when they're young, it still affect
Mhm.
people. I'm just saying it get them to be in the system where like they can keep getting arrested and they can get longer term.
Mm.
But like at home, it's not the same.
No.
But that's interesting.
It was.
But
It was different.
and then you moved from Florida to
To
Alaska.
Alaska.
How was that?
Same again. Wasn't what I expected.
What do you expect of Alaska, bro?
You know, my friends were always telling me that I'm gonna live in a igloo. I had a friend named Donovan Grange. Good guy. Really good guy. Funny story too. Yeah, I probably won't share Donovan's story on
Okay.
here, but he's an interesting lad. Let's just say my mom always thought he was an off suspect, but I didn't think that because I was just brand new to America. So I
Right.
got a friend, and one thing's about when we talk about the upbringings too in America, and this is what a lot of people don't pay attention to. To go somewhere takes a lot for a kid to like get from point A to point B,
Right.
and again, that's because you're dealing with just like bigger things. There's more
Right.
space, right?
Right.
People are occupying more space and more territory, So like in Jamaica, if I want to just go down the street or 3 blocks or so, I ride my bike and off I go,
Right.
But for here, if you're just like saying I wanna go down a quarter lane, because we're in Spokane right now, that's not a bike ride. That's
Right.
that's a drive, and most kids have cars, so like that was a big challenge, like trying to learn like the bus system and where you
Right.
can ride your bike and then learn how to put your bike on a bus. That wasn't a thing in Jamaica, but like transition to Alaska, when you look at that aspect, that was a big shift. In Alaska, like when we first got there, I mean, before even getting there, we were excited to be on a plane. That was the second time in my entire life I was ever on a plane.
Right.
I was 17 years old going to Alaska. My grandma had asked, didn't even know my grandma was living in Alaska. I thought my grandma was living in Florida. Then I found out she was living in Alaska for years.
Right.
But then the school that we were going to, we asked them if they could like take in like extra students because we
Right.
need to get acclimated, and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. And then found out that Alaska has the most diverse high schools in the entire nation.
Wow.
Yeah. So if anybody thinks Alaska is just out there, no, they ain't. There's a lot of people who are out there.
Be surprised. There's a lot of Sudanese like population out there too.
I mean, all of it. But when we got, it was nice. Literally, we got there it was August we got there and everything was just still clean, pristine, and little did we know snow was on the horizon, and little did we know that darkness would befall us for about 8 months. Little did we
Jeez.
know. So to
You're
go
coming from
from
a tropical weather,
yeah,
and you sun is up, you out, you playing every day. It's
yeah,
just darkness,
pure darkness. No trees. There's no
and you
trees.
can't
There's
go
no trees to
anywhere.
climb, and then even when we talk about like, navigating Florida or navigating Jamaica, which is like you can just get on your bike and go somewhere. In Alaska, I kid you not, if you don't have a friend who can drive, you're not going anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
Everything is literally about 45 minutes to an hour away, even just to go hang out with your friends. So if you don't have a friend who can drive, you're not experiencing Alaska. You don't. And that was a tough thing. It really, really was because but at the same time though, I didn't say I can say I because I'm speaking for myself, but we weren't I go back to Alaska for work often, but we weren't like cognizant of that when we were there
Yeah,
because we're just like, oh, we're somewhere new again. This is going to
right.
be different, and we haven't lived with her grandma for like years and stuff like that. So getting to know her, my mom's brother and sister were living there, my grandma's daughter and son, who were my aunt and uncle. Granted,
Right.
they were younger than us, but that was
You have like a little family there.
yeah,
Okay.
so that was different.
So what do you guys do? Do you guys play games indoor? Do you
And besides footy, besides going
you guys
to
play in indoor instead?
no, we had an indoor arena, yeah, but
Oh, nice.
we had to play indoor in the high schools for like PE. But other than that, it was about until I was just like going into my senior year where I had a girlfriend who could drive, and she was the reason why I saw different things
Different
and did
things.
different things. It's the same for my brother. He had friends who could drive, but if you didn't have those,
And that was like what, 2 years, a year?
yeah, I was there for about 2 years. Yeah.
That's just crazy.
If you don't have that in Alaska,
And then
you're not going anywhere.
how is your grandma? Does she like it there?
She's been there forever.
Okay, so she just
Yeah.
acclimated to it. She just like the lifestyle.
Yeah, but she doesn't do anything though.
Right.
That's the thing. It's just God bless her heart. She just stays home. She doesn't do anything. So I don't know. I don't know if she enjoys it. I
Right.
think she's just been in that flow,
For so
and
long.
nobody is kind of like, hey, what's going on?
Right.
I think she's just maybe she does, but
Right.
it would be crazy for my grandma to tell me that she enjoys living in Alaska. She never goes to any of the parks to go see the bears and all the elk and all that kind of wild
Yeah.
bullshit. She doesn't even eat. I don't think she eats deer meat or stuff like that, or elk. She doesn't go hiking. She doesn't go snowboarding or none of that kind of stuff.
So you're like, why are you even living in Alaska, huh? That's interesting, right? That you said that because when my mom came here too, my mom didn't really like America that much, but that was also interesting because I had all these plans of stuff we're gonna
Yeah.
do together. No, she just want to stay home and watch TV. To her, the fact that there's electricity all the time, which
Yeah.
I get there's no electricity back in Nigeria.
Yeah.
She was content, man.
Yeah.
I was the one I was like, oh, we need to
We
go
gotta
do
do
stuff.
this.
She was like, no, I'm perfectly fine here.
Yeah.
But it was interesting though because then when we go out to the parks or we go out and walk by the river,
Yeah.
and she would really enjoy like, oh, you can walk around the waterfront.
Yeah.
But she wasn't unhappy here though. She was like, I'm fine here.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Just content. I
Yeah.
don't need to
I-
extend
Yeah.
myself.
I think sometimes when you come out from a situation where you didn't have a lot, I think your expectation is just different.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you're missing, or you just don't care. You're just like, what, my life is good. I have job. I can provide for myself.
Hmm.
And sometimes people they're happy that way. They just want to watch
Yeah.
TV and relax.
Yeah.
You know?
Like when I come and visit you and tell you, do not bother me. Very much so.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
And it's not even. I think it's just more of just like everybody. I think one of the things I'm starting to realize is that just like a lot of people deal with their reboot in time
Right.
differently, like
Right.
how they re-energize themselves and fill them cup up, and
Mhm.
for some people they're re-energizing time after coming off of their work is to like, maybe go to the gym, maybe
Right.
go to yoga. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Right.
And then and for some it's kind of just like it's just staying still,
Right.
which staying still takes energy. It takes
It is. It
it's
is.
a lot of mental and physical and
Right.
emotional energy just to stay still and be okay with just like staying still and just like this is it, So
Right.
it's just interesting how like when one of the things about it is just like we have to pay attention to how other people do their
Right.
shifts and how that re-energizes them. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. that's why I think it's perfect that I have, a wife that is kind of opposite my personality. Because if she go out one day, she need like 2 days to recover, and I'm just like, tomorrow morning, let's
And
go.
you get drunk. That's a
No, no, no,
you get drunk.
she just needs to be around people, and
Yeah,
that's exhausting to her.
yeah,
I'm like, what? Let's go tomorrow morning and let's go
yeah,
back in again. So it also kind of humbles me to realize that not everybody's like me. People are
yeah,
not gonna see the things the way I see things.
yeah,
They're not gonna, react to things the way I react to things. So I'm gonna go to the next, next segue a little bit. So you're a coach. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I have some questions for you. One, it's a two-way question. So you're a soccer coach, and also you're an advising kind of coach. But
yeah.
so what is the difference between both?
Oh, oh. That's crazy. The difference between the two is that one involves around playing a sport,
Okay.
and using the sport to navigate the world and make sense of the world. That's just the soccer side of it. And then the advising or completion coach is you just like working with individuals who are using academics as a means to further themselves, right? Like change your current trajectory in a sense, so working
Right.
with kids who want to complete degrees in like nursing, dental hygiene, project management, right? Helping them where they're at and getting to that. And in the soccer side, it's just using the sport to navigate that,
Right.
but that's also connected to the academic side. But most of it's just the sport is helping them use that to make sense of it. So that's a
So do you think you being a soccer coach kind of help make it easier for you to transition to be an advising coach? An advisor, not a
yeah,
coach, but an advisor.
yeah,
Like, because you work for the college, you're
yeah.
doing both job for the college. So do you think soccer kind of help you have some leadership skills to be able to do your day job?
Yeah, it's just dealing with people. That's
Right.
all it is. Coaching is dealing with people.
Right.
But the only different about this side of it, it's just you're dealing with people in terms of academics and helping them stay on track with a plan, or when they check in with you and they tell you that other things are happening in their life and how would that affect their plan if they decide to stop for a moment or two, and
Right.
that's where it goes from just being about like academics to now, you kind of you shift to that coach hat, it's like,
Right.
oh, like how do you talk with them through that process?
Right.
So it definitely does. The most important thing, it helps me recognize it's just like you're just dealing with people, and
Hmm.
everybody is different because you're all at different points in their life, and I've met a lot of people who have similar stories.
Right.
They're just at different points in their life.
Hmm.
Like
Different
I've
stages.
met like best thing I can say is like I've met people who have come into the college with the same, like their objectives and getting a degree are very similar.
Right.
They're just at different trajectories in their life. Like some are like a teenager, and some are just like or married, and they need to like reintroduce themselves to the new working world,
Right.
and some need to do it for a promotion. Does that make sense? But the overall goal is to get a bachelor's in cybersecurity,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting.
But you're all just like, well, I'm a teenager right now. How can I complete this by this time? Well, how can I get this degree done by a certain time so I can get this raise for my job, right? But the overall goal is to get this bachelor's degree. They're just at different points in their
Yeah.
life, but you're all going for the same thing, and soccer connects with that because the overall goal is, I mean, is to be better, but essentially is to win, right?
Right.
So, you're trying to create a plan, which would be, for example, in the advising world, an academic plan. It's the same as a coaching plan,
Okay.
right? Just like how are we? What's in the coaching plan, and what is in the academic plan to get us to the overall goals by the time that we want to get to it by. And that's it. And then you just
Interesting.
check in with people on both of those things, remind them, hey, you're where you're at. Here's what you need to do next, right? You got to take this class here and take this class here. If you don't take this class here, that might shift things around unless things in your life has also changed because again, we're dealing with people.
Interesting. So, you coach female.
Yeah.
So why do you choose coaching female over male?
A big part of it was I didn't want to deal with the egos of coaching male. That was one. I remember when I was transitioning out of coaching men, I was like, I don't know if I could coach 20 of me. And
Right.
if I couldn't coach 20 of me, that means I didn't want to do it,
Right.
you know? Transition over to the female side. And then the other aspect of the coaching female was I have five sisters, and in a way it helped me kind of just like find ways to connect with my sisters and my
Right.
mom, the woman in my family,
Mm.
right? You know, in terms of just like, you know, how to be more compassionate, how to be better listener, right? You know, just it helped open up those horizons, because it's everything is just different in terms of the objectives when it comes from male to female.
So what is your favorite part of coaching female? Like what is the favorite part of coaching? Is it preparing for a game? Is
Yeah.
it drill training? Is it, you know, set piece? What
Yeah.
part of coaching is like, oh man, I'm excited to coach this tomorrow
Yeah. The preparation.
for a game?
Yeah. Just the preparation in general.
Hmm.
That's my favorite part of coaching, is the preparation.
Just like preparing for your opponents and stuff?
Yeah, just preparing for the opponent, preparing for where we want to be at the end of the season. Like that's just, you know, especially for like that's the process to get to the final product.
Right.
Right. You know, so that's one of my most enjoyable things, is the preparation, because in the preparation I get to see where each individual is at within the coaching plan, and then I get to see where the group is at within the
Right.
coaching plan. Does that make sense?
Right.
And that's where coaches have to like assess and go, okay, you know, where do we need this player to be, or do we need to shift things a little bit? So that is 100% my most favorite thing, is the preparation when it comes to coaching, is help like preparing a team to go compete.
So what is the hardest part of coaching? Like what is the hardest thing to kind of, you know, pass through to your players?
Yeah. The hardest thing to pass through to players would be actually, this brings me back to where I was asked a question, what are the two things that I look forward into a player? And the two things I said were, the player has to be present, and the player has to honor their commitment, right? So I think the hardest thing to give to, like the question you said, well, what is the hardest thing to teach?
Yeah, to kind of pass through.
To pass through to the athletes is to how to be present more often and honoring their commitment. No, and the reason why I say that is because there's so many external factors that could just put that off, like in a heartbeat, you know, and especially one being just like the one external factor that's always happening is social media and its impact on how like it lets somebody feel that what they're doing is not good enough and they need to be somewhere else. And I think like, but the thing about that is that it shows everybody else is, so like if I'm in this process right now, which is this is my season, you know, and here's what my coach wants me to do on a daily basis to get to this, right? But I see somebody else with the end product, it makes you think that what you're doing is not valuable or it's not valid, when it is, but it's not showing you on the other side of it, where you see on social media. You don't see those strides that other people go through. It just it makes you think like, oh, they just do it.
They just got
you know, and it's just like, and that's not the case. And I would think that's the hardest thing to like, it's one of the most challenging thing, because like it could change at any given moment,
right?
You know, because players are motivated differently as to why they play the sport and why they play the sport at a high level, especially why they play the sport in college.
There's two type of coach. There's some coach that that we know, like you and I are big soccer fans.
Yeah.
Like I think it's Ancelotti. I forgot his first
Paul
name.
Ancelotti.
Yeah. He's pretty quiet. He doesn't talk at all.
Yeah.
Even barely, like Alex Ferguson too.
Yeah.
He don't talk during the games. And then you have people like, you know, what's the Man City coach again? Guardiola.
Yeah.
Or like Diego Simeone.
Yeah.
Atletico Madrid. Sorry, we're going a little nerdy about soccer right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to give an example of two different type of coaches.
Oh,
Coaches that
yeah.
are quiet during the
Yeah.
game and those that yells a lot.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is more effective?
It depends. It depends. It really, really depends. Because some you ask some players, in which I have asked players, they'll tell you that they want a coach to tell them things. And it's not that the coach is yelling a lot. I think that's one of the things where it's just like it's not yelling, it's coaching. Right. Some coaches are so into the game themselves that like they don't know how to disconnect. Right. But then you have like Carlo Ancelotti, in a sense, he's probably like, I mean, I don't have to say much to my group because when you look at it,
Or did the work preparation?
the preparation, but also the talent level also decides how much you have to coach.
Hmm. I mean, I'm asking that because a few years ago, I've been to a couple of your games. You were
Yeah.
pretty quiet, and I feel like this year you yell a lot, but you guys won a lot
Yeah.
too.
And
So
it's a mixture. And it's funny you say that because the difference between this year's group and last year's group is that this group needed more information. Last year's group didn't need more information, right? But then that goes back to the organization on our part as a coaching staff. Did we not provide the right amount of information in our preparation?
right,
Does that make sense?
right,
To where we didn't have to say things more often.
right,
Right. So, and then there's also other dynamics of the group that we have to look at. Most of them are first time students. We have what, five kids in our starting lineup. I could say one, two, three, four, five, about like six kids in our starting lineup at times. Any given times we had four to five kids in our starting lineup who never played um like high level club soccer. And that changes as well, because that changes how much I coach as well,
right,
because they've given that information.
right,
Right. So, and then you go back to like, which coach is the better. It all depends on what you have,
right,
and then it also depends on the game.
right.
You're trying to keep your players in it. So, is Carlo Ancelotti methods good? Yeah. But you could also say Pep Guardiola methods are great.
Which means he talks a lot, right?
You know?
He's always giving information. So
Yeah.
he uses hands, by the way. He
Yeah.
doesn't talk a lot. He uses hands a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was cool because I feel like the other team, sometimes when you yell, they can't hear you.
Yeah.
When you're giving signs,
Yeah.
your player knows exactly what you're talking about.
And that's a good point too, because we're trying to create. I mean, we only have them for 2 years. If I was at a 4-year, I think it would be cool to dive into what it's like to create a language that players communicate with each other. I mean, it's all the same though. It really is all the same. So it's just, that's an interesting question though,
Right.
because I mean, I've had talks with friends about this because so we're talking about Carlo Ancelotti and we're talking about Pep Guardiola. That's two individuals who are at the top of the spectrum
Right.
in terms of just like the finances that they get for the teams that they get to work
Right.
with and the talent that they get for the teams that they work with.
Yeah.
But I would say before the Graham Potter, before he was at Chelsea, he's also a phenomenal coach. I mean, his approach is good too, because what he did at Brighton was why he got the chance to be at Chelsea. And then Patrick, is it Patrick Vieira who's at Crystal Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vieira.
Look at all the work he's doing
Yeah.
at Crystal Palace, right? And
Steven Gerrard is doing good.
Yeah. And then you can even take it one step further. And then when we talk about different types of coaching, because we're only seeing the coaches who are in the Premier League, and then we're only talking about the coaches who win often. So we celebrate the coaches who win often. Right. And we look at that like that's a standard. But what about the coaches who are below the Premier League and they bring their team back into the Championship?
Right.
Or they bring their team back to the Premier League, top flight, right? So I guess to answer your question, there's not really it all depends.
So it depends.
It all depends on your environment, and it's a balance, So like
Right.
you said, last year I was more reserved. This year I was
You yell a
it's
lot.
I was like step,
Yeah,
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 because it's a
yeah,
different group. I had to keep them like
yeah,
switched on
yeah.
because at any given moment, like I said,
Mhm.
they didn't. I had a group, again, it's two things I have to look at it. It's either they couldn't solve the games by themselves
Mhm.
because if their background of not playing at a high level on a daily basis,
Mhm.
because we had like four girls who just came off a on our team. We had four players, or was it three players, who literally finished their season in the semifinals of the national championships for club soccer, for youth soccer,
Right.
and one of them made the best 11.
Right.
Right, so she was like one of the top 11 girls in the entire nation in
Right.
her age bracket.
Right.
Right, and then you have the other side of that who doesn't have that level,
Right.
so it's like it was mostly like reminding, just like, hey, do this shift, and then the second piece that goes just like, and then I put it back on me. Where did, myself or us as a coaching staff miss the mark in terms of the information given? Does that make
Makes
sense?
sense.
But there's no game that you're going to go into where that's not the case, and
Hmm.
you caught me at a game where we were playing for a title. That's
No, yeah. I mean, I would say it was interesting. It was interesting because I used to think when coaches that don't yell a lot actually get up, they can get a reaction from their players that this is serious. We need to take this serious.
yeah,
But I also think at least that game that you guys played in Spokane, that you guys were able to win and come back and win that one. I think 2-1, right? Um, because you've been talking to them all game,
yeah,
they were paying attention. They were able to listen to you
yeah,
and still continue the game. But I
yeah,
think they understand your voice.
yeah,
Definitely. If you weren't saying anything, there were a couple of times where they wouldn't have stepped. They would have, guessed like, but when you're like, run, run,
yeah,
like all the information you were saying, they were getting it and
yeah,
processing it and then doing it at the same time.
yeah,
But that's because they're used to hearing your voice during the game.
yeah,
If you didn't say much all the game and you were started talking to them at like 85 minutes, they would be really confused. Like, what does it want from me at this point?
yeah,
But because you've been doing it so much. But anyway, I
yeah,
thought that was interesting.
yeah.
I mean, I just thought that was interesting that you were talking a lot and you guys win a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like I said, you're right. That was something that we pointed out. I mentioned it. I was like, we said we were coaching more than we had to on the sidelines,
Yeah.
and we knew we were. But then again, we have to say like, well, this group needs that from us,
Right.
and in the games where I was quiet, it's like they wanted to hear me, if I
Yeah.
wasn't saying anything. So it was bizarre. It's just like, I was like, it's like, well, I'm not supposed to be up all the time. Like
Right.
we'll talk about moments, but if maybe this is a group that fed off of that,
Right.
maybe next year that might not be the
Yes.
case,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. So you turn around a franchise that was, I mean, college franchise, not like
I get,
I would say college franchise, but they were on a losing streak for a long time.
yeah.
How long is like 20 years or something? I don't think they ever went this far, right?
Well, yeah, it's been a while. I think this is the first time a back to back has happened in quite some time.
Yeah.
I mean, we did. I think it's been, what was it, 1998 and 99? I can't remember if they did back to back on the East Region title. So
Yeah. So I was there. I mean, thank God I was there when you started. I mean, I saw the whole process. One of your first game I came to see.
yeah,
You guys get a real nice 8-0 smack.
that was
And
by Clark College.
yeah, and I saw you turn that turn that whole school, that team around and turn them into a winning team. And
Yeah,
you almost went undefeated last season, and they won. I said 13-1 or 10
yeah.
one. What did you think it demanded from you to change that around as a coach?
What do you said it again?
What does that demanded from you to see that change, to make that change happen?
Yeah,
What did you have to do?
create a vision and a direction of where I wanted it to be.
Hmm.
because at first, I mean, the first year was to getting a gauge on like what do we need to compete in this conference. That was the first year. That was the gauge, you know,
Mhm.
and then after the first year, that second year, we found that here are the things that we need to compete in this conference, okay, and then the third year was like, what do we need to win in this conference, and then here's where we're at, and that's what the vision was based around. And then now we try to create like a culture around that. When you see CBC play, I want there to be like a style, I want there to be like a certain energy around us,
Like an expectation, kind of.
yeah, and it's cool when when teams are coming to play us. It's kind of like, oh shit, it's CBC, and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that's a, it's like I want it to be like the Man Cities and the Real Madrids of
Right.
the world, like, oh, we got to play those guys this
Right.
weekend. And if we're not on it, this could be quite problematic. Like, I want that kind of focus and professionalism around what we do. And that all came from, I said, like myself and, my assistant who jumped on at the time. And it was like, like, this is where we want to go, so we created a culture around that.
You spend a lot of time on the road, recruiting all the way to Alaska and all that. Um, what is the demand of creating a good team? Because community college, you have to recruit every year or every 2 years.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that like? And how hard is recruiting? I know you've explained that a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Can you really touch on that? Like, how intense is recruiting?
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 20.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's recruiting is the bread and butter for every sport. That's literally it. And it's a matter of like bringing in, like I was just saying, bringing in pieces that fits that vision and direction and the culture that you're trying
And
to
is
create.
it coach that does it all the time, or is it different programs have different people, assistant that help out?
The levels that you're at, you get that for sure. If you're at a 4-year school, depending on your staff, it differentiates between those, right?
Right.
But at junior colleges, depending on the funding you get, it's a community effort. Does that make sense?
Right.
It could be social media, people watching your team play and they go, hey, I saw your team play. There's many ways to do it. But in terms of just like the intensity of recruiting, how much it demands out of you, especially if you want to compete at a high level year after year,
Mhm.
that's intense. There's a reason why that's something that we cannot take for granted, because all it takes is one recruiting class to change a
So,
cycle.
so if you reach out to 20 kids, I mean, how many on average do you think you would come back to your program?
Yeah, probably 1/5.
And when you say recruiting, you've kind of explained this to me a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking these questions on camera. Is so you don't have to only pitch the kid or whoever the person that you have the talent. You also
Yeah.
have to explain to the parents. And
Yeah.
what is that process like?
I thought it would be easier, to be
Right.
honest, but it's actually harder because I remember for me, I was like, I just want to go play,
Yeah. Right.
and
You
then
have the love for the game already.
yeah, and then we go back to just like, the difference between coaching male and female, right? Just there's different objectives around the game. I mean, especially when I talk to parents, it's about finances. Do we have the right academics? Are we in an area that the kid can see themselves in and the family's okay to have them in that area? And this is a tough one. Safety. Are they going to be safe? And
Especially a
we,
doctor too.
yeah, we would say like, I mean, we'll do our best to take care of them and make sure that they're safe when they're under my supervision, but I can't really guarantee that
Right.
outside of it,
Right.
right? But somehow it's like something that they have to hear or they want to hear,
Right.
like she's going to be safe. And it's like, well, yeah, as long as we're paying attention to her, but I can't monitor every single kid.
Right.
Does that make
I
sense?
mean, that's what I'm saying.
And that's kind of like the adult aspect of the world, where have to figure out how to navigate between different
I mean,
groups.
I
And
mean, people just don't take that much chance with their daughters. I mean, I can
yeah,
even think about it right now. If I have a daughter, I'll be worried. I mean, even if
oh
I'm down for it, I don't think my wife would be
yeah,
open to it. So do you think then it's harder to recruit females than male then because of that safety part?
oh yes, absolutely, because it's not the sport. It's not the sport
It's
for
still kind of
them.
new, right? People are still just open to the idea of like, my daughter's gonna go play soccer in
Yeah.
college.
It's just more so, it's just that, just more so, it's more, I would say they're more academically driven.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not the sport. The sport is secondary to,
To females.
like, I believe so, based on my environment.
I
It's
mean, they said
secondary.
females have the highest, rates in college
Yeah.
graduation and all that. I mean, females just like school better than
Yeah.
males. Yeah.
And there's other factors that will kind of like back that up too. I don't
Right.
have on top of my head,
Right.
but that's just, it's just a different outlook for them, but if
Right.
you but then when you look at the difference between junior colleges and four-year colleges as well, at junior colleges you have to, the cool thing about it is that you get 2 years. It's going to happen quick. You're coming in to be an immediate impact, right? So
Right.
just like, I train, I play, I train, I play, I train, I play, and then like you do your 2 years, you learn, you grow, you develop what you need to develop more understanding of who you are, how to like navigate, understand of college, and then you make the jump from a junior college to a 4-year school, right?
Right.
Now, for some people, doing a second jump could be frightening. For some people, that's not the
Hmm.
case, right? So most oftentimes, I think a lot of female athletes opt to go into a 4-year school because they just want it all in one place.
Just want
Does
a
that
red
make
shirt
sense?
1 year. I know I'm gonna play in maybe
And
2 years from
I'll
now,
stay
and
here,
I'm gonna be here.
but I don't want to have
Okay.
to shift again because moving is a big part of change as well. So, and then and most often with female players, especially, in club or youth system, especially the ones who give the most to get the most. And what I mean by that is just tapping into their abilities every time they get a chance to play and just
Right.
like leaving that out there,
Mhm.
right? You know, most oftentimes we found that there's a lot of kids who've played like high level club soccer as well.
Right.
If they don't get the offer they want, which is like
Mm.
that 4-year school or
Mm.
this or an area, they opt not to play.
Interesting.
So, which also goes to show that it's like academics is first for them.
Right. Having a backup. I mean, females are just smarter than male,
Yeah.
younger too. So they're just smarter. They don't like to take a lot of chances. They won't guarantee like, hey,
Yeah.
is this gonna work out? Um, that led to my question. It was interesting visiting London a few
Yeah.
years ago and seeing Chelsea, London, and all these West Ham and how small they are. Like
Yeah.
all these big soccer teams, and it got me to think about like, I think our friend Musa also explained this to me. It's like every area has little lakes and little
Mhm.
lakes, little. It's almost like you play for your little area. It's like a
Yeah.
pride thing
Yeah.
where like you should represent your area where you come
Yeah.
from. You play for your area, and if you do good in your area, then you go to nationals. And actually,
Yeah.
you get national coverage if you're the top
Yeah.
dog from your area, or like
Yeah.
people in the area just support each other. It's like
Yeah.
from the Liverpool, you support Liverpool games and all that. Do you think America can get to that space for soccer? Because I really think that would really helps a lot with recruiting. Like
Yeah.
that pride of, oh, I'm from Tri Cities, I'm gonna play for
Yeah.
Tri Cities, and I'm gonna, because it seems like a lot of people in America just want to go to wherever it's popping, right? It's like I
Yeah.
want to go WSU, I want to go to a big college.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no pride in there. I just want to
Yeah.
live here and go as far as I can to where it's flashing. Whereas in
Yeah.
London, I'm from here. I'm gonna stay here and fight for the pride of here, and
Mhm.
which makes sense to why some of them they will end up playing for like their hometown club, and
Mhm.
people from there will love them, and they become these gods in their from their hometown. So,
Mhm.
do you think we can get there in America?
That's a big question. That's a really, really big question, and it's a yes and no. There's so many variables and factors that affect that. That's a
Right.
really, really big question. I mean, one of the biggest variables that affect that is the family's upbringing.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
if I grew up in a family and they all went to UW, best believe
I'm gonna
I'm
go
gonna go to
to
UW. You know,
oh, okay.
it's like they want that trail of just like, you know, I'm an alma mater, I'm an alma mater, you're an alma mater, you're gonna pass it down. You know, we're Huskies in this household.
Right,
That could be a big deciding factor on where you go. You know,
right.
let's even if let's say one parent went to UW and the other went to like Alabama.
Hmm.
Now the kid's gonna like, oh, you know, dad's like, I had a great experience. You should check it out. Mom's
Right.
like, I had
At
a
least
great
an
like
option, right?
that changes, right? Where they want to go to school, which means that now they're gonna think like different regions, you know. And then the other side of it, which is challenging too, is that just like most kids don't represent the areas that they are in because they can find success in a lot of places around them. Which
Options.
means that like, yeah, they can just if I'm not liking it here,
I can leave.
I'll just move across town. I'll go do it there.
Hmm.
You know,
Interesting.
somebody's gonna help me get there. I don't have to
Stay
deal
there.
with the attrition and adversity from here to get to there, right? You know, which shifts that a lot, right? But at the same time, you know, I mean, the population of Washington State has 7 million people,
Hmm.
right? I can't tell you how many kids are in high schools playing or how many kids are playing high level club soccer,
Hmm.
um, or high level sports. But what I can tell you that there's a finite amount of spots that each of these programs have to offer, right? So, for instance, like UW is most 4 year schools tend to be like within the 28 to 32 range in terms of spots that they'll bring on your team,
Hmm.
right? So, but then you also have to add in the fact that UW's reach is not only Washington. They
Right.
can recruit all across America and they can recruit internationally.
So even if you're a local kid, you're competing with like how big your college is. So there's no guarantee you're gonna
Yeah.
be there. Well, that's why I said it's a complicated question because I don't think that happens in England. If you're
Yeah.
good, you're gonna be picked first because you're
Yeah.
the local.
Yeah.
If you're good, I'm not saying
Yeah.
you're not good,
Yeah.
right? If you're good, you're gonna be
Yeah.
given an opportunity, because that's how like Musa was able to go, to Brazil and represent England in the indoor futsal.
Yeah.
It was from winning matches, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's been interesting, and I think that's also interesting. It's an option. That's the beautiful thing about America, but also that's what weighs it
Yeah.
down. It's like there's no problem because there's option. So there's
Mhm.
option for the college. They don't have to pick you. There's also option for the player.
Yeah.
So it's hard on both
Also
sides.
option for the family in terms of their socioeconomic status.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. All right, I'm going to before I wrap up. I have two questions. The first one,
Two questions.
yeah, two questions.
Does that add in with all the other questions?
Oh, no questions. Yeah, two questions. The first one is, what do you think makes you different as a coach?
My passion. My passion. And I try not to take anything for granted. Honestly, and in most of my coaching perspective is because I realized that I'd wasted time when I was playing. So I try my best to get that picture across that just like wasting this finite amount of time that we have playing sports because a lot of people think that like I have forever to do this. You don't have forever to do this. Um, every time you waste those time, you take away from your development.
And
You
your
know,
opportunity.
yeah, and that's why I go back to just like the two things I ask from the players that I'm going to work with are be present. You got like not only be present physically but be present mentally because like I can't share information with you if you're just there physically. Any of us can hold a physical space, right?
Hmm.
But if you're not there to absorb the information, it doesn't help out. And then I said like honor your commitment, right?
Hmm.
And honor your commitment means like honoring it when things are going well for you and when things are going bad for you as well. Like don't just like shift and go there because then a lot of people try to run from that. Like you can't run from that, you know?
Hmm.
And to like break down honor commitment is like give the most to get the most. Like give the most of yourself
Hmm.
to get the most of yourself, right? You know, and a lot of players, in going back to why I say like I don't like I'm really a big stickler about like my passion, and then in regards to like if I'm going to do this, I'm fully in on it, and I'm going to do what is required of me to get the most out of this experience. If we're not going to do that, let's not do it at all.
That's dope. That's dope. Um, Thank you. That was a beautiful answer. Do the most to get the most and be present. And I think anybody can use that. Even me right
Yeah,
now, I needed that. I need to hear that too.
yeah,
You know. Um, the second part of the question is, I'm able to be part of your journey. I saw, how you started. You
mhm,
started volunteering, for our college, Peninsula College. That's where we met, and you you volunteered and you did coaching for no pay for a long time.
yeah,
I guess this part of the question is for someone that has a passion, either here in America or back home in Jamaica. I know we're at the place of, I gotta get my money, I gotta get paid.
yeah,
Even I myself, I would
yeah,
wait. I will also ask you to get paid after a while. I was like,
yeah,
bro, you've been putting so much time in to get
yeah,
paid, but you stay with your passion, and of course, you're able to get better pay than I could ever imagine. You get a
yeah,
job, you're able to have an opportunity, you're able to do amazing stuff. You have to trust your gut and your
yeah,
own dream. Against my advice, against anybody else's advice, you have the blinders on.
yeah,
Um, what would be your advice to someone that wanted to start a passion project? Because I think we're in a place where we are seeing someone's result, man.
yeah,
We're not seeing the process, and I think,
yeah,
me personally, that motivated me a lot to be part of your journey, to just see where you're coming from,
yeah.
staying in someone else's couch, having a place of your own, or having, I mean, your beautiful car.
Yeah. It's not a
I
Ferrari, but
know,
it's a Mitsubishi.
I
I'll
know,
take
and your
it.
car getting stolen by me.
Hey, hey, hey.
That's a different
Yeah.
story.
That's why
But
you'll
that's
never drive it again. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
no, that's so
The
good.
lock system is much better on this one.
I'm
Much,
just
much
saying, man.
better on this one.
Never
Yeah.
live, don't live and run it downtown Spokane. So,
Or they'll take it running downtown
that's what.
Spokane.
So,
That's funny.
I guess my question is, what's your advice for someone that have a passion for a project that they're trying to start?
Yeah. Um, Nothing done if nothing tried. So if you won't do it, then let's just stop talking about it. Go right into it. Um, I think I heard something from Jay-Z where he said, like, when you're doing these things, you have to have an idea of what the end looks like, which is important. You have to have an idea of what like the end of that project looks like, right? Because if you don't, then you're just kind of like working aimlessly. Does that make sense? So you have to have an idea of what the end looks like, and then in the middle of it, once you get started, check and adapt. And I think that's very, very crucial because there's many other factors that are happening in your life that won't allow you to continue to see your passion clearly the way it was when you first thought of it. So now you have to like still have that end goal in sight, but then once you get started, you have to check and adapt along the way to get to that end goal because it will not be envisioned, or like it won't happen the same way you saw it.
You
You
picture it.
pictured it,
You gotta
right?
get tested.
So, and I think in coaching, they tell you to check and adapt a lot in our coaching courses. And that means it's just like, the check and adapt always refers to, is the picture what you want? Right. And then it allows us to adjust to, like, if let's say I thought about this many numbers coming for practice and it doesn't happen, how do I check and adapt immediately? Because it's just like, it's not what I thought it was going to be, but I still got to get to that end goal, which is whatever that session plan is. We still have to get to that. Does that make sense? So
Okay.
how do we get that across? So nothing done if nothing tried. So get going on it. Um, have an end goal of what that actually looks like, and then check and adapt as you go along the way.
My brother. Thank you, man. One love, bro.
Appreciate, yeah,
All right, we're
appreciate,
gonna
yeah.
take a